Hey guys, before the video starts, I just wanted to let you know that I yap a lot at the beginning, so if you don't want to listen to all that and you just want to go to the skin review, skip to this timestamp. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's officially begin the video. Ever since I was a kid, I've always had an unwavering amount of love and respect for the Friday the 13th film franchise. It was without a doubt my all-time favorite horror series, and that's in spite of it being pretty schlocky at its core. There's just something about the franchise that's always gripped my attention, more so than any other piece of horror media, even the actual high-quality ones. The iconic Camp Crystal-like setting, the wacky kills that try to one-up each other with each new entry, the stereotypical characters, I truly love it all. Why? Well, if I had to narrow down a specific reason for my unconditional fondness, it would ultimately come down to the main star of the show, Jason Voorhees. To me, Jason has always been the face of horror. His iconic hockey mask singed into my brain for as long as I can remember. He's a force of nature, relentlessly targeting his prey despite what they may throw at him. Even when he's quote-unquote killed, he's never truly dead, as all it takes is an unlucky group of teenagers to start the cycle of violence once more. Despite that, Jason himself is actually a pretty sympathetic character, at least compared to his contemporaries. He was disfigured both physically and mentally as a child, and for that, he was ruthlessly bullied and eventually murdered because of it. Now, I'm not saying that justifies his eventual mass killing sprees, but you can at least see where he's coming from. This is all to say that Jason has a very special place in my heart. So, naturally, when it was confirmed that the man behind the mask was one of the horror icons being added to Fortnitemares 2025, I was absolutely ecstatic. If you've been with the channel for a bit, you'll recall that last year I made a whole video pondering whether or not Jason was coming to that year's Fortnitemares. I might have been off by a year, but hey, we got him. And that's what matters most. And now that he's finally here, I felt it was appropriate to follow up that video with this one. Today, I'll be giving my thoughts and opinions on Jason's skin, his accompanying cosmetics, as well as his inclusion as a boss during this year's Fortnitemares. I'm very excited to review this man, so without further ado, let's finally begin the video. The first and most important thing to note about Jason's Fortnite skin is its design. That might sound stupidly obvious to you guys, but let me explain. This design isn't based on any of his prior appearances from the Friday the 13th franchise. Rather, it's based on the look given to him as part of the Jason Universe initiative. For those unaware, the Jason Universe is billed as a multi-platform expansion plan for entertainment, games, immersive experiences, merchandise, and more related to the Friday the 13th franchise and Jason Voorhees' character. It's fresh off the heels of a decade-long lawsuit that saw the series and character unable to exist in any way, shape, or form. I go more into that lawsuit in my previously mentioned video, but to keep things simple, the Jason Universe design is, legally speaking, the only design that could have been added to Fortnite. And before people mention it in the comments, yes, I'm well aware that Multiverses was able to have multiple film-inspired designs as skins for Jason, but I speculate that might be because Warner Brothers was able to strike some sort of deal before the Jason universe was established, given their status in the entertainment industry. Whatever the case may be, this is Jason's Fortnite design, and honestly, I've really come around to it. I didn't f with it when it was first announced, but over time, it's really grown on me. It's relatively simple, yes, but it reminds me heavily of his Freddy vs. Jason appearance, which is my personal favorite look of his, so I'm eating pretty good. I'm a very big fan of how his mask's chevrons and eye holes are designed to make it look as if he's scowling. That's genuinely really clever. Speaking of his eye holes, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, I'm also happy they decided to make the insides pitch black, much like Michael Myers. I don't personally mind when you can see his eyes, but I really like the mystery this decision adds. As for Jason's other cosmetics, let's start out with his pickaxe, the appropriately named Jason's Blade Kit. This pickaxe is actually two weapons in one, the classic machete the character is known for, as well as an axe. You have the ability to switch between using the machete, the axe, or both at once. And like, I fucking love that. Not only that, but pulling these weapons out in-game will trigger a short horror sting to play out. I can't even begin to describe to you guys how happy that makes me. Moving on, we have Jason's back bling, the Crystal Lake Life Preserver. First off, I'm incredibly happy to see Camp Crystal Lake be mentioned, as I was pretty positive that the name was off limits due to the aforementioned lawsuit. Apparently not though, which is obviously fine by me. Anyways, as the name suggests, this back bling is a life preserver covered in rope that holds Jason's weapons to it, as well as his hockey mask. Equipping the machete and/or axe in-game will, of course, remove them from the back bling. I only have one very minor nitpick in regards to this back bling, and that's the fact that it comes with Jason's mask attached to it. It's just kind of weird for Jason to be carrying around a spare mask with him, you know? This obviously isn't an issue when equipping this back bling with other skins, but you're primarily going to be using it with the Jason skin, so again, it's just really kind of strange looking. It would have been nice if there was an option to toggle it off, but it's really not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Moving on to emotes, Jason was lucky to get 2. There's the Friday emote in which the character cuts a calendar to reveal that the date is none other than Friday the 13th, accompanied by very dramatic horror music. Much like Crystal Lake, I was sure they weren't able to mention Friday the 13th by name, but I guess this is a subtle workaround. After all, the emote doesn't outright mention Friday the 13th, it just alludes to it. The second emote is called Machete Paddle, and sees the character jump into a small kayak with the Crystal Lake name attached to it. They use Jason's machete to navigate through the water as suspenseful music plays out. Eventually, a very rotten loot llama wearing Jason's mask jumps out in an attempt to attack the user, an incredibly cool reference to the end of the very first Friday the 13th film. I gotta say, these emotes are pretty damn perfect. They reference key aspects of the films, with the machete paddle emote in particular, utilizing the iconic ki 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 ma 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 sound effect featured throughout the franchise, and I love it. We were also treated to a weapon wrap inspired by Jason's mask in the form of the Vengeance Seeker. It's a reactive wrap that sees the weapon crack and weather with use. Honestly, I didn't even think we really needed a Jason-inspired weapon wrap, given he never uses guns in the films, or at all, but I'm not about to start complaining. The second to last Jason cosmetic added during Fortnitemares 2025 was the TGIF emoji, and it could have been attained by getting 8 points during the Jason Haunted Cup. Not much to say here other than it's a very cute little free reward. Finally, there's the Final Fish loading screen, which depicts Jason stalking Fish Stick in the dead of night. The description reads, "Someone has to survive, right?" And that, combined with the loading screen's name, is a subtle reference to the final girl horror trope. Given that a lot of final girls in horror films are typically virgins, this reveals something very unfortunate about Fish Stick. Then again, he owns a Cybertruck, so the likelihood of him never having sex was pretty much guaranteed. But yeah, that officially does it for all the Friday the 13th related content that was added to the game during this year's Fortnitemares. If it isn't already extremely obvious where I stand in regards to their quality, I'll make myself crystal lake clear. It's peak. Every single cosmetic, from the skin to the emotes to the damn loading screen, just oozes love and appreciation for the horror franchise that inspired them. It is a shame that we weren't able to get any movie-inspired content like a Uber Jason alt skin, for example, but again, that probably wasn't ever going to be a possibility in the first place. If I had to give this bundle a rating out of 10, you bet your ass I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I love it so much. Before I end this video properly, I wanted to take a quick look at the Jason boss that could have been fought during the duration of Fortnitemares 2025. When loading into a match, Jason had the chance of spawning at 2 spooky-themed locations, the fan-favorite Freaky Fields, or the much more appropriate Creepy Camps POI. One could find Jason stalking the grounds, and if someone were to alert him, he'd start giving chase. Much like the Friday the 13th films, Jason won't sprint at you or shoot you with a gun. No, instead he slowly approaches with malicious intent and attacks you with his machete should you get too close. This obviously leaves the character open to taking a lot of punishment, which is why he has both an absurd amount of health and the ability to ambush the player via teleportation, much like his past video game appearances. Upon defeating the slasher, he'll drop a mythic version of the wood stakes shotgun known as the high stakes shotgun, as well as some slurp juice. He was also supposed to drop his own special medallion that would have revealed the location of nearby players who had low health, but this ultimately went unused. If I had to take a shot in the dark as to why it was never added, it would probably come down to how malign the Queen medallions were at the beginning of Shock and Awesome. Bit of a shame, really, but at the same time, this medallion didn't even sound that useful. Like, with how many healing options there were during this Halloween season, I doubt the medallion would have gotten that much usage to begin with. That does it for the Jason boss NPC. Overall, he's not anything too spectacular, at least in comparison to past Fortnite bosses, but he is thematically cool and incredibly faithful to his film counterparts. I'm really gonna miss fighting this guy as we transition into the Simpsons season. Jason was easily my favorite part of Fortnitemares 2025, which is saying a lot given how much content was packed into this year's event. It's definitely because of bias and nostalgia, but I don't really care. Jason was one of the very last collaborations I felt I needed from Fortnite, alongside characters like Darth Maul, Peacemaker, and Godzilla, for example. Now that he's here, I'll be sure to rock this skin year-round and deliver a dose of Voorhees vengeance whenever necessary. And that's going to do it for this yap session. If you managed to survive this long to the end of the video, then thanks for that. I appreciate it. Did you agree with my takes on Jason's inclusion in Fortnite, or do you feel differently? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I originally planned to release a huge Fortnitemares retrospective video today, but it just didn't pan out due to personal reasons. So I went with this one instead. If you were looking forward to that video, I want to sincerely apologize for it not coming to fruition. There is always next year though, so hey, why not subscribe and stick around? On that note, be sure to like the video and share it if you feel so inclined. Alright, enough rambling. Once again, thank you for watching and have a very happy and safe Halloween. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.